You know, some people enjoy composing their own music, chord by chord, and others are happiest when they come across that one perfect song. Work is not a lot different than that. Whether you prefer building your own workflow or using a pre-made template, with Monday.com, you and the team can work in a way that's comfortable for everyone. Tap the banner to go to Monday.com and build your own amazing workflow, or find an awesome template. No judgment.
Welcome to the RuPaul's Drag Race recap show for season 12, episode 6, titled Snatch Game. My name is Joe Betance, and I am joined, as always, by the prima donna from the podcast pod is my co-pilot. Please say,
how about you mind your own fucking business?
To Taylor, the Latte Boy. Hello, Taylor, the Latte Boy.
Hello, Joe. That's another good one.
Oh, really? Because I was between two for that one. I was wondering if I made the right choice. Here, let me play the other one. This is the only thing. Right. And I really, up until the last second, this was the other one.
Sorry that I have not been able to break free of the voices and the things going on in my head.
No, you picked the right one.
Oh, okay,
you picked the right one. That one was way too long, and the additional music. Whereas,
yeah,
this was succinct. This was I'm way behind on podcasts right now, and I just started listening last night to our episode 2.
Oh my goodness!
Of where you say, where you said, please give it up for it. And, you're the reason I'm addicted to drugs. And I laughed again just as hard because I forgot that was the thing. So this was a good one. This was a good one.
Very good. Anyway, Taylor the Latte Boy, everyone should know we've already recorded our Just Between Us Girls segment. So we're going to jump right into the show. And but if you want to hear what Taylor and I talked about, and what's so funny, now I can tell you what we talked about. We talked about Taylor fucking his husband in the middle of the day. What else did we talk about?
Or the hopes of it.
What else did we talk about? Oh, I talked about
my work,
your job. I talked about me emailing Crystal. I talked about some podcasters who did not respond to my email. They can go fuck themselves. And
building bridges. Okay.
Building bridges, but more like an incline. And or a decline. And I feel there was a lot. By the way, if you're an Animal Crossing fan too, there's a whole separate segment we did about Animal Crossing. It was like a 30-minute Just Between Us Girls segment.
Yeah,
where that's just what I remember. The big topics that we talked about.
You had a weird dream.
I had a weird dream. I drew hair on my chest.
He did draw hair on his chest. I don't have to do that because I have hair on my chest.
I don't have like Taylor. I this is the mistake.
You don't have like any hair on your chest.
No, none, zero. I'm just a smooth Fink. Anyway, I gotta stop. I didn't even fade out of the music.
Yeah, that's all right. We're still doing the intro.
Yeah, we're still doing the intro. All right. So anyway, go to patreon.com/afterthoughtmedia to hear and see. You can actually see all of that goodness. All right. This week, the queens try to make Rue laugh in this season's Snatch Game. On the runway, the category is Frozen Eleganza. Gigi Goode wins her second main challenge of the season, while Britta and Aiden Zane end up in the bottom 2. After a lip-sync battle for their lives, Britta was told, Shantae, you stay, while Aiden Zane was asked to sashay away. Taylor the Latte Boy, named 2 things you liked about the episode and 1 thing you did not.
I thought this was a good Snatch Game. I kind of remember last year really not liking Snatch Game, so I go into this now feeling like we get diminished returns, but I felt like there were some really strong people. The top 3 were the strongest, I think, but so I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the theme for the runway as well. The thing that I did not like was It felt. I'm trying to think of the thing that I thought of something and I can't remember what it is. This was an okay episode. I don't know that there was anything that I necessarily super disliked. I mean, other than my standard answer of Britta being extra. I think that it's good that she had to lip sync and I thought that she gave a strong performance, but for reasons that we'll talk about when we talk about the lip sync. And yeah, I mean, just Britta at this point. Britta, I'm not a fan of Britta. If I can kind of add an asterisk to that, this week's Untucked just was a huge mess. I have no idea what was going on in Untucked this week. It was a lot of chaos. So.
Oh, wait a minute. Now that I think about it, maybe it'll happen at the beginning. They never resolved Gigi and Heidi. She said, we'll talk about this later. But maybe, at the top of the shows is when they come back to that stuff. And so at the top of next week's show, that's when they come back to it.
What about you?
Okay. So for me, look, here's the deal. When I get a crush on somebody, there are so many factors at play. Okay. Obviously, the physical attraction is a big part of it. But then there's little quirks and movements and idiosyncrasies the person might have that I find very attractive. Okay?
Yeah.
And the more I learn about the person, the more I grow connected to them and I'm attracted to them and want to marry them. And I have to tell you, especially this episode, Gigi Good put me over the top. So
Gigi Good, this was a great episode for her this week.
Yeah, it was a great episode. Now, look, I'm not generally like Gigi Good isn't physically. I mean, in a lot of ways she is, but in a lot of ways she's not my type. But man, just her personality and the way she moves is just very sexy to me. Like there's it's so quick and it's so funny how as gay people, maybe all men are like this, but like there's a moment at the top, when they heighten, when they heighten the cold open, the act one, when they like go like that music builds and it goes bum bum bum, right, and she's swirling her head and then she like throws the wig down and she sachets away, like. Oh, that was so fucking sexy to me. And she was just so...
Zip.
Yeah, zip. And then
hands drop it to the floor.
Also, I love, as I've said many times before, I'm not one of those gay bros. I love me a femme drag queen. So when Gigi gave that whole speech during Elimination Day that she doesn't really identify with any gender and blah, 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 I thought that was so fucking sexy. I'm all about Gigi Good now. And so we're going to get married, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Is Gigi aware of this?
No. Does she have to be?
I think that's kind of important.
All right. Next, RuPaul looked so good this week.
Yes. I hoped that we would talk about Ru. I gasped when she came out.
And honestly...
Great hair and outfit.
It's like, it kind of makes sense like why they fired Delta. Look, as one fat gay Mexican to another, bitch, you were not doing your job. Because she made her look like Delta. It was just Delta's hair.
Yeah.
And this one, it was so different from anything we saw Delta ever do. And it looked so amazing and so good. And I think from the preview from next week, it looks like she looks amazing next week, too.
Yes, she's got crazy, like, kind of shocking, really, really super big hair. Yeah, I'm excited for that look as well.
Whoever they got now was amazing. The thing I didn't like, and this is going to be a very interesting discussion, I think this might be one of the worst Snatch games I've ever seen.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
Yeah. And I have a lot of thoughts about this, but we'll get about the Snatch game because I did peek at the Discord and I peeked at Reddit, and Discord more than Reddit disagreed with me. I have a lot of thoughts about this. And so we'll talk about that in detail. But let's get right into the episode. After Nikki's elimination, Heidi tells the others they'd better watch out because she doesn't plan on lip syncing again. After Jan asks her how she's feeling, Britta once again tells Aiden she should have been in the bottom. And the next day, it's a new day in the workroom, and RuPaul enters to announce this week's Maxi Challenge.
Now, ladies, for this week's Maxi Challenge, we're playing the Snatch game. Pick a celebrity that you can impersonate, then make me and the world laugh.
Later in the workroom, the girls discuss the characters they're considering. Britta's thinking about playing Jennifer Holliday. Jada's chosen Cardi B. Jackie doesn't recognize Widow's Tina Turner wig. And to the other queen's confusion, Aiden plans to play Rocky Horror Picture Show actress Patricia Quinn. Taylor, a lot to talk about right here. We have the cold open to talk about, and we have They didn't do any mini challenge. They just jumped right into the maxi challenge and right into the workroom. Your thoughts?
The opening, the cold open felt to me produced. Mm-hmm. It felt like there was a need on the producer's part to say, because all of the good stuff that happened last week in Untucked, the big fight, some people, I think they're looking at it as people don't just watch the whole 2-hour block, or if you're only purchasing like the season pass on iTunes or something, you might not be purchasing Untucked as well. So it felt very much like a, hey, Britta, why don't you talk about your feelings on, or when Jan said, Britta, how do you feel about that it was a way to sort of kind of push that along, which also made good for the narrative because then it was the two of them going up against each other at the lip sync. Mm-hmm. But I'm sick of hearing about it, and I'm glad that we don't have to hear about that. And now Britta doesn't have that to fall back on. Mm-hmm. Where Britta says, I don't understand why I'm doing so well when there's somebody like that. Well, now, as we saw in Untucked, that people are starting to call her on that. That, well, yeah, yes, you were New York Entertainer of the Year, but that's not doing any good here, girl.
She won't fucking stop mentioning that. Entertainer of the Year, right. According to whom?
I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah. It's not like the Bill de Blasio called her and said, listen, Britta, I got to bring you up to City Hall. We found out you're Entertainer of the Year. Right.
The Tina Turner wig issue, mm-hmm. It wasn't a really good Tina Turner wig. I mean, I know that in the 90s, Tina, when you think about Tina Turner's hair, at least the way I do, you think of that 80s where it's completely where it's almost like a mullet kind of thing, where it goes down and rests on her shoulders. Yeah. And it wasn't until the mid 90s when she was doing like the Wildest Dreams tour and things like that she had that very short in the back and then just sort of this big thing up top. Uh-huh. So I got who it was, but it makes sense that people wouldn't necessarily know that was supposed to be Tina Turner.
Well, also, especially someone, I feel, I know, Taylor, you might not, I know you're a Tina stan, but it wouldn't, because Tina Turner has, I would say for the past, in this millennium, not really been a big pop presence, And
I would agree with that.
Yeah, so for someone as young as Jackie, who's probably her mid to late 20s, I don't know, how old is Jackie Cox?
I think she's one of the oldest ones. I think she's early 30s.
Okay, but still, that I could understand, like, not like knowing. I mean, Jackie knew who Tina Turner was. Once they said, "Oh, it's Tina Turner," she's like, "Oh, okay." But I could see not knowing that was a Tina Turner wig style. Does that make sense?
That's what I'm saying.
Especially not being black. I could see maybe a black gay knowing because they see a lot of either themselves or other black drag queens doing Tina Turner. But like, if you're just a 20-something-year-old Persian drag queen, why would you know that specific wig? And like you said, it wasn't a very good, it was a shitty shake and go wig.
It was a shitty wig. But but I'm also going to say that I think that if you are truly trying to be America's next drag superstar, that you should know gay pop culture of the last. I mean, I think at the very least from Judy Garland on, who are the huge icons, and Tina Turner is definitely one of those icons. I'm not faulting Jackie for not knowing who Tina Turner was. I'm faulting Widow because it was a shit wig.
No, you're right. And this is a topic that we will get into in depth when we talk about the Snatch game. I think what you're saying there, and we talked about it on previous Snatch games. And we'll explore that even further there. Any other thoughts on the workroom? There's something that happened in the cold open, and I can't remember what it was, but I remember I was rewatching it this morning. I was doing other things that I rewatched. Mm-hmm. And I thought to myself during the opening act, I should have taken a note on that. That's something I want to bring up with Taylor. Now, again, I can't remember what it was. I didn't take a note then. Okay, so let's move on. During the table, we're going to the table visits. Rue enters the workroom with former contestant Vanessa Vanjie Mateo. Heidi tells Rue she plans to play Leslie Jones, but Rue and Miss Vanjie tell her she should play someone with a southern accent. Jan plans to portray Bernadette Peters. Crystal wants to play indie pop persona Poppy. Rue recommends Elle DeBarge before Crystal breaks down in tears, frustrated with her mediocre reception thus far. Vanessa hits on Jackie, who plans on playing Lisa Rinna or Julie Andrews, and Gigi plans to play a literal robot named Maria that we gotta talk about. But Rue is concerned that a robot doesn't have a sense of humor. Taylor, your thoughts on the table visits?
Much like the annoyance of Heidi not using her full name and refusing to use her full name, the whole El DeBarge thing, we get it. You think she looks like El DeBarge, but now that she's referring to her as El DeBarge, I find it to be very disrespectful. I feel like you're not really, you're seeing what you want to see and you're forcing that down everybody else's throat versus recognizing Crystal's vision, Crystal's aesthetic, Crystal who Crystal is. And it is, I find that, I just find it kind of gross. And that they play the music, under her and everything. I don't like that. It makes me mad. I'm not a huge Crystal fan, but I really appreciate what she's doing more than I expected to this season. And when she does that, it makes me mad for Crystal. It feels slightly bullying to me.
Oh, really? It's so funny that you interpret it that way, and it actually speaks to probably what I'm going to say next. So I will tie it in where it feels like pulling on a little girl's ponytails, and that's a way of boys flirting with her. I know what's funny is I know for a fact RuPaul's talked about it. She actually likes very tall men. Like, I think her husband's a perfect example of her type. So she actually likes very, very tall white men. But I get a very strong flirty sense from RuPaul. I feel like RuPaul is like smitten with Crystal, and
It's clear that she sees something in Crystal, and she really likes Crystal.
She sees her go fucking Crystal,
right? But it's where she's not really focusing. Like she's then give Crystal an opportunity to really show who she is, and part of that is by going by the name Crystal Method. Instead of just this where we're just punching this El DeBarge at her, to where at some point, like, if by some chance they do the live finale, they're going to have a video with El DeBarge where El DeBarge is going to talk to Crystal on
El DeBarge. What is he doing? He'll come out and sing the fucking song. So it just, we get it. We get it. Move on, kind of thing. So that's my issue with it. Where we've seen, like, on Twitter where it says no one, absolutely no one at all. Then it says RuPaul. Crystal has an El DeBarge wig. Crystal looks just like El DeBarge. Yeah. No, I see what you mean, but I think RuPaul wants to get inside Crystal so badly. I think she wants to top Crystal. See, I think bottom. Go ahead.
We also got the I'm your new mommy now scene this week with where she actually allowed RuPaul to touch her and hug her. So.
Yeah, but she like jumped on the second Crystal cry. She was like, "I'm gonna give that bitch a fucking tight ass hug and just feel her little twink body next up to me." Yeah, RuPaul wants to fuck Crystal like hard.
And I will say this, Crystal said one of the funniest things in the entire episode when Ru says, "Is there anything I could say to you right now?" And she said, "Congratulations, you're the winner of this week's challenge." Yeah. I thought was very, very funny and very, very quick. So I get that we definitely have some listeners, and I've seen a lot of like uber love for Crystal, and I can appreciate that. I'm not quite there, but like I said earlier, when we watched the Meet the Queens, I'm like, oh, she's the first one out, and she's really growing on me as a strong look queen, which I did not expect that to be the case at all. She has a very distinct style and is still able to modify it within what the judges want. So I'm enjoying seeing what she's bringing down the runway every week and her looks. I'm not a big fan of the whole character she did, but
we'll talk about that. I think the Meet the Queens highlights Crystal's weakness and or problem, because she's getting a Candy Ho edit so far. And for those of you not in the know, Candy Ho edit means we don't see you. You're not a voice, right? And it's one of these things where Crystal, I think the Meet the Queens highlights why she's getting that Candy Ho edit. I don't think she's very good in the confessional type situation. And I think she freezes up, she gets too in her head, and that's why when you and I, that makes sense. When you and I saw, we both like, oh, she's going home. She sounds like a loser. Yeah. And I think the editors are having trouble finding clips to have, because look, Anybody who says because of the Sherry Pie problem, anybody who has anything interesting to say, the editors will take it and put it in place, right?
Yeah.
And we're not seeing the fact that we're losing Crystal in a Sherry Pie edit thing speaks to that her confessionals were not very good. Anytime she says something interesting, they put it in. But I think that's sort of the problem, and I think that's why we thought she didn't go very far based on Meet the Queens. I want to talk a little bit. Let's talk about it now before we get into Snatch Game because it's highlighted here. Let's talk about some different choices. As we saw, I guess we'll talk about. We'll go down the runway when we not down the lineup when we go. But let me just anything else here. The Elda Barge stuff. Vanessa hitting on Jackie. Any problem with that? Or not knowing who Julie Andrews was?
No, I think that's just who Vanessa is. When we saw the preview for this week's episode where they brought in Vanjie, I didn't understand why, especially when they brought in Jinx last season to talk to the girls before Snatch Game. And then it made sense. So instead of just having another winner come in, they have somebody who did so badly explaining this is what you want to avoid to do it. It made more sense. And I thought Vanjie is somebody who we've definitely, from the very first episode when she went home till now, we've seen. This is I think Rue brings her in to kind of show the growth of some of these girls. I mean, Vanjie was very on her toes and very back and forth and kind of, I mean, they were using a lot of analogies of like kind of volleying back and forth. And Vanjie is an example of somebody who can do that now. I'm assuming, I feel like she will look like she was having a lot of fun coming back to the set. And you kind of get that feeling that she is beloved by the Drag Race crew. So it felt like, because there were times where it almost looked like she was talking to them and not necessarily the contestants. And it was fun to watch her.
Well, a couple of things. I saw this on the internet, but also AfterBuzz TV's Jay Ellis texted me while he was watching the show and said, I think RuPaul just learned the word volley. Because that, I mean, she kept saying that word.
Yeah.
Next, I actually think your analysis is too generous towards RuPaul and the production. I think what happened is, one, no matter what you can say about about Vanjie as a contestant on RuPaul's Drag Race, what cannot be denied is that she's amazing television. All right. Mm-hmm. She's amazing to watch. She's amazing to listen to. And she makes things more interesting just by her being there. I think if they didn't have this planned, that there was you know what? These bitches are so fucking boring. They all get along. They don't fight. We need to liven up this. To get something going. So especially this is a Snatch Game, we want to make it fun and have a good, and so they bring in Vanjie to like sort of like spark up the energy in the workroom, because again, with the exception of Aiden, I'm very curious to see what happens next week because they all get along. The only real kind of problem was with Aiden. And I even think that was heightened for the show.
Yeah, but I feel like they definitely, with Untucked, they're moving into where it's going to be Heidi versus the girls. I feel like Heidi's feelings were hurt, and even if it's short term, that's going to be where they get the drama next week.
I also wanted to talk about something. So I'm going to spoil something. Not really, Taylor. I'm going to spoil last week's rumor mill with you. So the rumor mill, we had nailed it that Gigi was going to play a robot. But the rumor world got confused because the actual name of the robot that Gigi was playing, I believe his name's Sophie.
Okay.
And she called her robot Maria. Now, Maria the robot is the name of the main character in a silent film called Metropolis. Okay.
Okay. I've seen pieces of that. Yeah.
Which, if you did a makeup as and cosplay as a gay person, I think Maria the robot from Metropolis is a gay icon too. So the rumor was that she was going to play Maria the robot from Metropolis, and I think it's because she named the robot that. But I believe the actual name of the robot, I could be wrong, is Sophie the robot. Let me make sure about that. Yeah, Sophie the robot. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is Sophie.
People in the chat room are saying that thought the robot's name was Sophie.
No, Sophia. I'm sorry. It's called her name's Sophia. And
okay.
So when you hear the rumor mill, that's what we got wrong. But I could see why whoever originally posted that rumor, why they originally thought it was the one from Metropolis. Okay, Taylor. Well, that was the table visits. Before we get to the Snatch game, why don't we take a break, and we'll be back right after this.
This is Amy Poehler. My new movie, Disney and Pixar's Inside Out 2, is coming to theaters June 14th, and it's making me feel joy and sadness and anger, definitely some disgust, and I think a little fear. But I'm also feeling these new emotions like anxiety, embarrassment, envy, and ennui.
It's what you call the boredom.
Okay, that one was weird. It's going to be the feel everything movie of the summer. Disney and Pixar's Inside Out 2. Rated PG. Parental guidance suggested. Only in theaters June 14th. Get tickets now.
All right, Taylor, we are back. Let's talk about the Snatch game. Rue introduces Snatch game contestants Mean Girls actor Daniel Francesi and Jonathan Bennett. On the celebrity panel, Heidi N Closet is Leslie Jones, Jackie Cox is Lisa Rinna, Jada Essence Hall is Cardi B, Jan is Bernadette Peters, Widow Von Du is Tina and / Ike Turner, Gigi Good is Maria the Robot, Aiden Zane is Patricia Quinn, who is a woman from an actress who was in Rocky Horror Picture Show. Britta is Jennifer Holliday. Crystal Method is Poppy, a YouTube sensation. And Sherry Pie is Katharine Hepburn. Gigi Good, Jackie Cox, and Sherry Pie are the clear frontrunners, while Krista, Britta, and Aiden struggle to get a laugh. Taylor, your thoughts on the Snatch game?
I think that who was in the top 3 and bottom 3 were correct. I thought that Jackie as Lisa Rinna was pretty funny. Definitely got the, we're going to say Harry Hamlin's name a lot. We're going to self-promote as much as we do. I like that they brought in, at one point she brought in the reference to Melrose Place, because she was on Melrose Place for 1 or 2 seasons at one point. She played a crazy person on there. And, she was a classic Snatch game character. She kind of had that of where she was lots of props, lots of that sort of thing. And, as much as we hated to admit it, Sherry was funny as Katharine Hepburn with the scraggly handwriting and kind of just saying whatever the correct answer was to get the match. I thought that was pretty smart. However, we laughed the hardest at Gigi. We laughed at it because we thought that the skull cap was...
Who are you talking about?
My husband and I.
Oh, okay.
My husband and I.
Yeah.
So we laughed the hardest at a lot of kind of the jokes that were said and the back and forth that she had with Rue, the not being able to pick up the cards, everything like that. It was between the two, particularly between her and Lisa Rinna, it was something different, and it was more of a risk. I feel like the Real Housewives have all been done numerous times, and even to where they tried to get Heidi to do one of the Real Housewives, so she had no idea who it was, and that's just sort of a stock card possible character, whereas this was something that was very, very different that we've never seen before. And despite Rue saying to her, I don't think you're going to do well with this, I feel like she really kind of nailed it out of the park. So in that regards, I feel like she did really well. The Poppy thing, this is kind of my issue with sometimes the younger queens in Snatch Game, because they do things that they are referencing, as far as whether we had like somebody did Gigi Gorgeous, and you've got Poppy, you've got these like YouTube stars, which I also get for the younger generation. They are the celebrities, the equivalent of who we watched on TV when we were kids. But I feel like I had no idea who this person was. I had no idea if the jokes were supposed to be funny or not, or if she just was lost. And it kind of maybe whenever she was on TV, it made me cringe. I have other thoughts, but I don't want to talk so much. So what do you think?
I'm going to go down the list, because some of them just deserve only like a bullet point of what to say. Heidi N Closet as Leslie Jones. I feel that she had 2 other characters that she bailed on at the last minute, because that's a random character to do, and she didn't even do it well. Like that, there in no way did her personality resemble Leslie Jones whatsoever. If I were to give advice, I would say she should play, who's the woman from The Help? That's not Viola Davis?
Octavia Spencer.
She should play Octavia Spencer.
Yeah, I've seen that on Twitter. People posting pictures of the two of them next to each other.
Yeah, like she should be Octavia Spencer. I could see the Phaedra, but if she doesn't know who she is. But, okay, guys, I'm telling you right now, here is a lesson in the Snatch game. Okay? Here's what you do if you want to win the Snatch game. I've got the recipe, and we're going to get Jackie Cox as an example of kind of what not to do, believe it or not. Even though she was on top. We'll see. I'll show you what I mean in a second. It's very simple. All right? Is you take an old-timey character that RuPaul would know. You don't have to be really like that character, right? You take an old-timey character that's sort of iconic, especially in gay culture, right? Mm-hmm. And then it's plug and play. You take that and then have that person say inappropriate things. Okay, an old-timey character who wouldn't say inappropriate things comes on and say inappropriate things. This is just literally off the top of my head. You are like, I'm Lucille Ball, and Lucille Ball comes on and says, "Oh, Rue, Ricky stuffed way too many dicks in my mouth." Wah. That's not funny, but like that kind of dumb joke, right?
Yeah.
I was fucking Fran and that is what makes RuPaul laugh. An old-timey character who's not usually portrayed as dirty coming on and being super dirty. End of story. You do that, at least, you know what? I'll say this, I can't guarantee you'll win. You'll at least be safe. Okay? If you can just do that, then you're safe. Okay? Now that's about winning the competition. Okay? That's about winning the competition. So Leslie Jones is already known as a dirty comic who slams it with attitude. All right?
Yeah.
That's not... Heidi's very charismatic, but she has a different kind of charisma. Okay? It's not the same kind of charisma. You got to stay in your lane. And that's not her charisma. If someone was going to do Leslie Jones, I think Widow Von Du would have done a better Leslie Jones. Or, that's who I can think would do a better Leslie Jones, because she has that same kind of, like, don't fuck with me charisma, and I'm going to tell you how it is. But that's not how Heidi is. Mm-hmm. And so, to me, it was disappointing. It didn't resemble Leslie Jones at all. It was just, I don't know who Heidi in Closet was doing. It was really strange. All right. Jackie Cox and Lisa Rinna. Okay, let me tell you my problem with this. And I'm going to start it with a compliment. I think whatever Jackie Cox's name is as a boy, I don't know what it is a very good student. And the problem with Lisa Rinna is she seemed studied. It seemed very, very studied, which is funny because later on we're going to have a discussion where I'm going to agree with Jackie and Sherry Pie about their position, how you should study for the Snatch game. And I agree with that. Yeah. But hers seemed a little overstudied. It seemed like, in other words, in an earlier episode, she said, "Oh, I've taken improv class. Now, I don't know this for a fact. I'm just speculating here. But I wouldn't be surprised. And props to you, Mama. Did I use that correctly? But props to you, Mama, for Jackie Cox for actually doing her homework. Yeah. But I wouldn't be surprised if she took those improv classes to prepare for Snatch Game. But the characters seemed like something that she had workshopped before she came on the show. And again, props to her for doing that. But like, she had worked with people, probably worked with improv coaches that she knew from her improv classes. And it seemed very, very character studied. Like it's just come out of, it's been neatly packaged. I'm going to do this. Yeah. I'm going to do that. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say that. One of the things that Michelle lightly brushes on this, but I think it's a bigger deal, is why weren't Lisa... I mean, the thing that... the person who doesn't watch Real Housewives, but who might know who Lisa Rinna is, the big thing you know about her is her big-ass fucking dick-sucking lips, right? How is that not brought up? Like, here he has normal lip on. Like, I was telling Lauren last night in the first response what I would have done. Now, this is just me. Is I would have come on with slightly big lips. And then the next time they came back to me, the lips are bigger. And to the point where it's like comical how big her lips are. To the point where she can't even talk. you know?
Right.
And that would have been, and she could have said everything else. That would have been a funny bit. Everything just seemed like she got a do-it-yourself recipe from Blathers of how to do a Snatch Game character, and she went to her workshop table and she made it. Okay, and that was sort of the problem with, like, I found it serviceable. I found it like it did the job, but did I laugh? No, I didn't. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't laugh at any of these drag queens, any of them. This is the one Snatch Game, because even the Snatch Game before where I said I didn't laugh, it's because only one person was good, and the proof of in the pudding is this. Go back and watch it, and I watched it again this morning. And anybody who knows RuPaul will agree with me. There was not one. There was one that came close, but there was not one genuine RuPaul like howl with laughter. Which most Snatch games you have that. And this one, there were some that were forced because she was trying to like pump it into the show. But there was none where you could tell she had to put the microphone down and she's doubled over and she's like screaming. Where even to the point where sometimes you have it where other people are talking and you still hear it in the background because it's bleeding into other. None of this. There are a couple of forced ones, and we'll tell you why they're forced in a second. But that's what we have there. I'll stop there for a second because I'll let you have a chance to talk. But I'm going down the line. Jada Essence Hall is Cardi B. Your thoughts?
Jada is one of those people who I loved on her first episode when she lip synced, and she was probably my favorite of all of the second group of queens that came in. I keep forgetting she's there.
Yeah.
Like, for somebody who is such a glamorous queen, and like her Cardi B was, they sort of did the thing in the beginning, and then that was really the only time that you saw her except for maybe once.
Yeah.
And she's another one who you're not seeing a lot of her confessionals either. And I just sort of was like, okay, she's Cardi B. I don't like the concept of Cardi B to begin with. So that was sort of one that I maybe I was tuning out a little bit more because of that, but I was not impressed.
Jada is so lucky that there were other people who were worse than her. This is like she was doing like a season 4 level mistake on Drag Race, which is I look like this pop star. And then it highlights my physical features because we know Jada loves her ass, and she even brought up her ass during her Cardi B. But Cardi B said nothing funny. There was nothing interesting about Cardi B. She just used it. Remember when Fifi did Lady Gaga? Because she does a really good Lady Gaga. That's not what the Snatch Game is about. I can understand making that mistake though in season 4. That was only the 3rd time they had done it, you know? So, but by this point, bitch, how are you still making that mistake? I look like Cardi B, and I have I play Cardi B in my shows, and I have a nice ass, so that's gonna. Now, she was safe, but I think she was safe because there were so many contestants, and there were so many who were worse than she was.
And I have a problem with there being 10 girls for Snatch Game. It should really be 8.
I wouldn't be surprised if they fucking moved it up, because this fucking show is it's not boring, because the problem is that it has nothing to do with the girls. It's almost like a season 7 problem. Okay. It's the girls are very talented. It might be one of the most talented group of girls we ever had. But this is actually a compliment to their characters. They're not fucking bitches, except for Britta. You know, they're not really. Sherry Pie, but we don't know because Sherry Pie's been erased. But apart from those two, the other girls are. And the one thing you can't deny about Sherry Pie is she's very talented. Sorry to say, she is. You know, Roman Polanski's very talented, but he's also canceled. Okay, so it's a very talented group of girls, and for the most part, they're very good people too. They're not trying to get there. I think, in other words, I think Britta's drama is because her own weird insecurity issues, but I don't think it's because she's a cunt. Let me tell you this, actually. I happen to have a mutual friend with Britta, someone who knows Britta very well, but he's straight.
Yeah. He
worked with her at a restaurant in New York City. Okay. She was a waiter, and they worked at the same restaurant. And in fact, what's funny in having the conversation, he was just, I called him this week. He was saying it's very weird for you to call him, because he says him, like, he knows him as his boy name, Jesse. Okay. Right. So to him, it's this guy that he knows that he worked with named Jesse. And he knows he's Brita Filter, but like it was he wasn't opposed to it or mad. It was just like, it was unnerving to hear me refer to Jessie as a woman, and another name. But anyway, he was telling me that that he doesn't watch the show, but he's been seeing Britta's social media response and something's going on and whatever. And he was saying, this is all so shocking to me. He's all, Jessie is like the nicest person ever. Like, so nice. So incredibly nice. So I think, and you're a mental health professional, Taylor, that it's not even that Britta's a bitch. I think she's a nice person. She's in her head. She's just...
Yeah, no, this is all, you know, I talked about last week, and I feel like on the special Untucked episode, we talked about the correlations that I'm seeing between her and Aiden particularly, and Jinx and Roxy from season 5. And going back and rewatching season 5 stuff, you realize that it's not about Jinx, it's about Roxy. And I feel like that whole thing with Aiden, this has been the same thing. That this is where Britta is used to being adored and esteemed at a certain level. And now she's just in with everybody else. Especially she's in with a group of girls that are so talented, and it's fucking with her head. Mm-hmm. So she's going to do whatever she can, whether it's pushing Aiden down or reminding everybody I was New York Entertainer of the Year.
Well, now tell me if I'm using this term correctly, Taylor, because I'm not a mental health professional, though I play one on TV. Do you believe there's a little bit of... what would this be called? I'm going to say transference, but I could be wrong. Where she's mad at the judges for putting her on the bottom, but she can't be mad at them, so she's mad at Aiden.
Projecting.
Oh, so she's
projecting. Yeah, she's projecting at... It's definitely been projecting at Aiden this whole time. Transference is more something when you're dealing with a counselor in particular, and then countertransference is when the counselor does that to the patient.
Okay.
But she's definitely projecting a lot of her insecurities on somebody who was going through the same thing, who was very open of it. That's the difference between her and Aiden. Yes, Britta is a stronger queen, but if Aiden seems more willing to share, look, the voices were in my head, and that's part of the reason of what caused me to go home in all of this.
You know what's so funny, and I'm going to be careful here because I do respect people's privacy. I was in a group therapy, and this happened years ago when I first started going to group therapy. And there was a member of the group who he would come in with these problems. And it's weird because everybody else's problems didn't bother me, but he would come in and I would get really, really angry. Like, really angry. I'm like, oh, this fucking guy again with these fucking problems. And I don't remember how long it took, but one day I realized, I'm all like, wait a minute. He and I have the same problems. And I realized my anger was at myself. Yeah. You know, we hate in others what we hate in ourselves. And and I learned that. Yeah, I learned that in group therapy, and I think it's the same thing here. Is Aiden is there's something weird about Aiden that I don't get, but I feel Aiden is at least verbalizing, at least psychologically mature enough to like just say this is how I feel and to share it in a very weird Maria the Robot kind of way, but to like share that information. And I think Britta hears that and it's triggering things in her and she just unleashes on Aiden.
Well, I think that is part of it. Not even necessarily what Aiden says, but just that Aiden's not doing enough, and where in Britta's eyes, and then you've got Britta who is worrying about how she's going to get on top, and it's a trigger of sorts of where she sees somebody, and especially when she sees somebody who is not up to snuff a couple of weeks ago, and then she ends up being safe. Mm-hmm. I think that is where that really kind of sets things off of, okay, well, Britta, I think a lot of these girls, I don't know any of them, but I would think a lot of them, especially after 12 seasons and 4 All-Stars, think they know what to expect when they walk in.
Yeah.
And especially if you walk in with a higher sense of self, mm-hmm. because you're New York Entertainer of the Year. Mm-hmm. And you walk in and suddenly you're seeing somebody who literally slept preparing for a challenge and they're safe. It fucks with your head.
Yeah.
And it's very much of the, okay, well, what I thought this is not, you know, when we talk about the elimination day, you know, where Heidi says at one point, she goes, Snatch Game was not at all what I expected it to be. Mm-hmm. And they were all kind of talking about the fact that it wasn't what they thought it was going to be. Mm-hmm. It, you know, you can see where somebody who considers herself to be the shit is suddenly very scared by that.
Yeah. No, you're right. All right. Actually, we went on that little rant there in between going there. Jan is Bernadette Peters. What a horrible Bernadette Peters. Bernadette Peters is so easy to impersonate. Not easy, but like she has a very distinct personality. What were we going to say, Taylor?
Well, and it's funny because they were talking about the idea with Heidi when Heidi was going to do Leslie Jones is you want to do somebody where you don't have to focus on the voice the whole time because you don't want to suddenly change voices. We know Vanjie did that with the Cash Me Outside girl last year. And Jan kind of did that where she started off really, really, really high with the and then but like the next she was between Bernadette and Jan as far as you could see that the level that she needed to keep that squeaky Cupid doll voice at wasn't staying. And you could also see when they showed her that she was getting in her head because she was watching other contestants do better than her. And it was fucking with her. And it doesn't allow you to stay in the zone.
Well, look, here's the deal. Is she fell in, I'm literally people, I'm going to plug this now. I was going to plug it later. LA sketch and improv comedy legend Lori Roggenkamp and I for Rulaska Thoughts. It's a show where we do a deeper dive into the episode every week, into the themes of the episode. For this week, we are going to do a very, very, very deep dive into the Snatch game. So, patreon.com/afterthoughtmedia. Anyway, here's what I was going to say. Is... She fell into big Snatch Game mistake number 2.
Okay.
I'm going to do this character. I think she thought she could do an impersonation of her, which she didn't. She just spoke in a high school. Bernadette Peters, I can't do it, but has a funny way. There's somebody famous who can do it, and it's really good. Of pronouncing words. She pronounces words in a really weird way. Like balloon.
Well, she has like a Cupid doll almost with a lisp. Like where she almost like talks like she kind of like keeps her lips together like this all the time. So when she says things, they come out in a weird way.
You know, like I can't do it, but like But on top of that, this is mistake number 2, and this is what Jan did. Is they go on there and their responses, and actually I would say that Jackie's was pushing the line here, but Bernadette Jan really went over the line here. I'm going to do a Wikipedia article I read a Wikipedia article about this person, and now I'm just going to regurgitate facts about this person as my responses. So, What would Michelle Visage serve her kids? Greens, nothing but greens. And I'm like, which is a line that she's saying in, why would Bernadette Peters, as an answer to a question, sing one of her, like, lyrics from her songs? And then, like, it was awful. It was horrible. No.
Okay.
Next is Widow Von Du as Tina and Ike Turner. Now, look, I didn't watch this What's Love Got to Do with It. Is there a part where Ike tries to give Tina cake or something? What was...
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, there's something where at one point he goes to give her cake and she doesn't want the cake and he eventually smashes the cake in her face and I think he beats her. So, and that was when he said, I want to do Ike Turner too, both my husband and I went, ooh, that's not a good idea.
Yeah. He should have punched himself.
Talk about in today's day and age, doing Ike Turner is not the best thought out plan.
Yeah, everyone should know that Ike Turner, who was Tina Turner's first husband, and he used to beat the living shit out of her. And what's funny is, if you don't, the New York Post that has the really great headlines?
I think so, yeah.
I think it's the New York Post. I would say the best headline they ever had. The best headline they ever had. It's my favorite ever. It made me laugh out loud. Was when Ike Turner died. Mm-hmm. The headline was, Ike Turner beats Tina to death.
Oh. That's horrible.
But it's so funny. It's funny. Yeah.
Right. I love Tina Turner. When Tina Turner eventually dies, that is going to be a sad day in this house. I love Tina Turner. So, but getting back to Widow, it was one of those where she talks about this and she talks about this afterwards of that deer in a headlight that I think that she thought that she could just sort of do where she kind of moves her shoulders and kind of rocks back and forth. Not realizing that Tina isn't necessarily somebody that you would consider to be a funny character. There's not a lot you can do with Tina. Tina is somebody who is as far as, rock and roll royalty. She is revered by people, but she's also somebody that is very poised and very beloved by, various musicians. And I think to go what you did as far as take somebody that Rue knows and then make them filthy, I feel like with that would be almost considered disrespectful because she is somebody who Rue loves. Yeah. So she got herself into a corner there. I mean, the thing where she said cake, and then at one point where she said, "Where's Tina?" And she goes, I can Tina, which is a line from the movie as well. Mm-hmm. That was kind of veering and funny, and they obviously did not. If she said jokes, they didn't make any jokes about him beating the shit out of her. Mm-hmm. But talk about just not a very forgettable. A very, very forgettable. Years from now, we'll say, who did Widow Vaughn do? And then one random person will say she did Tina Turner, but we won't be able to remember that.
She made mistake number 3. Oh, okay. RuPaul likes this person. I'm just going to do them. Yeah. I will say you're right. It's hard to make, because remember, my rule was not just someone that Rue loves, but who's known for being like pure and innocent. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then make them dirty. Tina Turner, not that you think she's a horrible nasty human being, but she is a sexual presence. She has a sexual energy. She is a complete woman. Like, not that we've ever heard Tina say anything dirty or anything like that, but it wouldn't be out of the realm. It's not funny. It's just like, okay, she said dirty things, whatever. It's just Tina Turner saying dirty things. So, so it's just because you do someone that RuPaul likes. Diana Ross is another trap that people fall for. Like, you have to make that person funny. You have to make that person funny. And it's harder. Just because RuPaul loves them doesn't mean you're an instant win. But again, weaker Snatch game, she's safe. Yeah. She was safe. All right. Now, here's one we have to talk a lot about. Gigi Good as named Maria the Robot, really doing Sophie the Robot. Your thoughts, Taylor, on this?
We liked her. We thought, my husband and I thought it was very funny. She showed that Gigi can be filthy. I think that Gigi is sort of one of those, a underdog as far as that I think people came into this thinking, oh, she's just a look queen. Mm-hmm. And as she has shown that she has some comedic chops, and willingness to go there with stuff, I think that shows that she is a really strong contender for being at the end of the, making it all the way to the finale. Now tell me why I'm wrong.
No. I agree with everything you said, actually. The only thing was Maria the Robot didn't really make me laugh as much as the editors and everybody wanted me to believe. I do believe it was a very clever choice. And in fact, I want to, because we're not going to really talk about, was there anything on Untucked you wanted to talk about?
No. Yeah. No, because I didn't understand what everybody was fighting about. So.
So what I'm going to say is this. There was a moment in Untucked where Sherry Pie, even though they don't really show it, but you can tell Sherry Pie is part of the conversation, and Jackie Cox are telling the other contestants, how are you guys bitching about this? Because of all the challenges on RuPaul's Drag Race, this is the one that you know is coming and you have the most time to prepare for and to get ready. Now, Jackie Cox is, of course, speaking from experience because her character is very studied. We will get to Sherry Pie when we get to Sherry Pie. But it's very, very studied. Okay, so of course, she prepped like nobody's business. She did her homework. And Jada, I think it's Jada, I can't remember if it's Jada or Widow. One of them says to them, that's easy for you two to say because this comes naturally to you two. But for someone who this doesn't come naturally to, it's very difficult. And that you basically shutting them down because they're already good at that. And it's a valid argument, except for the bitch who fucking won. She did her homework. She's not a natural comedian. She's not a funny queen, but she did her fucking homework. Like she knew, everybody knows you're going to do Snatch Game. And she prepped and she got it ready. And maybe she had coaching, maybe she didn't, but she got her Snatch Game character and it was ready. She herself, the winner of the challenge, was proof of the advice the other two top were saying. Remember, these are the other two top queens. The one who won isn't a comedy queen. She's a look queen. But she did her fucking homework. another case in point, I don't think she won her season, but she did very well, was Aquaria. Aquaria's not a funny queen.
Yeah,
but she did her fucking homework.
Aquaria won Snatch Game.
Oh, she did? Oh.
Aquaria won Snatch Game. Yeah, she did win Snatch Game.
She's another perfect example. A look queen who did her fucking homework. Jackie and Sherry Pie were 100% on the money. You know this is coming. You have to prep for it. Just because you said show someone that Rue likes. Yeah, and Cardi B and Tina Turner. Yeah, they weren't funny. All you did was just say they had a nice butt and talk about it's basic. Ugh, I can't with them. Anyway, back to Gigi Good. It was, I think she won because it was she proved RuPaul wrong, and RuPaul appreciated that RuPaul thought she was going to be really bad, and she was. I don't feel Gigi Good was bad. I just feel she was competent. She was the best among lessers. And I don't know the phrase, right? But yeah, I could see why Gigi won. It was amusing, but I never laughed. I didn't even do not even that. I was just like, what is this? And like,
a chuckle.
No. And I even think RuPaul's laughter during her segments was forced. Okay. Next we have Aiden Zane as Patricia Quinn. Oh my God. It felt like Aiden was court ordered to be on the show and do Snatch Game. And so she was doing the minimum.
It feels like Aiden at this point said, I'm out. So I'm not even trying anymore.
Or do you think it is the proof that the girls wanted to be seen that Aiden is lazy? Because it is laziness.
It could be. I mean, anytime they showed her, it was just, I don't even know where I am. I don't know what I'm doing. I know where that was the only thing that she was able to go to. Mm-hmm. And then at one point even asked, when was somebody, one of the confessionals says, Rue is trying to volley all of these things, throwing these softballs at her to try to get her. And she just has no idea what to say, what to do. Is that a question of she just suddenly froze, or where she really didn't have any information? I mean, when at one point when Rue says, "What year did you do Rocky Horror?" and she has no idea.
She says it. I think in the Snap and Untucked, I think she says it. I think she says, "I don't know what year was. Why would I know that? I don't know what year it was made."
Right, but that is the thing that Patricia Quinn. That is the only thing that Patricia Quinn is known for. To the best of my knowledge, the only thing I know her for. Mm-hmm. I didn't even know her name. I just knew her as Magenta.
Yeah.
And to do the older version of it, this is an example of if you had somebody who had done their research and had practiced and had gotten it ready, much like with Gigi with the robot, it could have been somebody who you knocked it out of the park. But it also, you wanted to be somebody that is known within the zeitgeist. I mean, this is an example between her and Poppy. Neither one of them are necessarily known by everybody, but for completely different reasons. I'm sure there's lots of people who, unfortunately, have never seen the Rocky Horror Picture Show, so don't have that point of reference. So then to create a character that was she just sort of looked like she was doing old lady drag in a high school musical. Mm-hmm. And it was anytime they went to her, you died a little inside because it was not good. First
of all, it was the case in point of, you remember a couple of weeks ago they did the improv challenge and Jackie Cox was trying to teach the yes and principle? This is the example, like this is the opposite of you. This is what they're telling you not to do. If someone gives you a piece of information, you're like, I don't know. Well, what is RuPaul supposed to say to that?
Right.
I don't know. I don't know where am
yes, and it's no but.
Yeah. It's I don't know. And you're like, okay, well, there's nowhere to go with I don't know. Or I don't know, I'm dumb. I'm drunk. What am I here? You're shutting them down. And so there's nowhere to take the bit. And I think here's what I think. I'm speculating. I don't know this. Patricia Quinn, medicine woman, right? She lives in, my speculation is that Aiden Zane lives in some shit town in Georgia or wherever he's from, right? It's just outside of Atlanta, right? And Patricia Quinn probably lives in this little town. And she's like the local celebrity because she was in a movie 50 years ago. And he wants to kiss her ass. So he probably went to lunch with her and she's like, and he's like, listen, I'm going to be on this TV show. What's a TV show? I don't know what that is. And she's like, well, to honor you, Patricia, I'm going to do an impersonation of you. All right, that sounds pretty good. I like what you're going to do there. Can I blow with you then if you just mention my name a couple of times? And he's like, I'm gay. And she's like, doesn't matter to me. As long as you come in my mouth and come in my titties, that's all I care about. You know? So the point is, I went somewhere. I don't know what happened there. I think I was fantasizing about that. Anyway, the point is, I think he knows her and he wants to impress her, and it's a lazy thing to do. It's lazy. It was horrible. It's one of the worst Snatch games in the history of the show. And I'll tell you why. Because there were worse ones. You know, one of my favorite Snatch games ever is this little midget who, when she did Beyonce, and she's falling all over the place, right? And what's her name again? Kenya Michaels.
Kenya Michaels. You can't say midget anymore.
Kenya Michaels is running around like a crazy person, falling off the chair, being,
Isn't she farting in it?
She's farting, all kinds of crazy things. Now you're saying, well, that's worse than that. Yeah, but it's so bad, it's wonderful. This is just bad and boring.
Yeah.
It's bad and boring. The level of unprofessionalism, too much.
Far too much.
All right, Britta as Jennifer Holliday. Your thoughts?
Okay. There was part of me that I found this almost offensive.
Yeah.
Just because, Britta is not Black. She is Polynesian, as she has said in the first episode that she was in. And she's doing this thing where she's like got her mouth really big, and she's just where it's, and when you watch old video of Jennifer Holliday singing, she kind of does that. But there was something about it that felt somehow racist to me, and I can't necessarily put my finger on it, but I was very uncomfortable watching that. Now, part of that might have been that those big choppers were like taking up my entire TV, but it just was not. It was one note. It was one note the entire time, and I don't like it.
It was horrible. I don't know this Jennifer. I know who she is, but I don't know her personally.
Yeah.
It's again another Snatch game pitfall, which is it's in the same area. I do a really good impersonation of this person, so now I'm just gonna just repeat the same thing over and over again, right?
Yeah.
And I found the one little quirk that they have, and I'm just gonna keep doing. That's gonna be my answer for everything. I have a friend who actually she does really funny impersonations. I'm not gonna say who it is. But she does really funny impressions. She makes me laugh. Her Instagram stuff makes me laugh. She's my friend, whatever. But I remember years ago, we had a little bit of a falling out for like a week. And I apologized, even though I shouldn't have. Well, because I just wanted it to be over, right?
Right.
But she came up to me and she goes, I have my Rachel Ray impression down. Right?
Okay.
And what was the word she said? It was some word, I guess, that Rachel Ray says a lot. And I go, okay.
EDOO?
No. It was like, cool or something like that, right? I don't remember, something like that, right? It was say cool. It wasn't cool, but it was something like that, right?
Yeah.
And she goes, oh, I finally nailed my Rachel Ray impression, right? And I go, oh, I want to see it. I know this Rachel Ray. I know who she is. And she went, cool. And I went, okay, what else? And she was like, no, that's it. And I go, well, you have to say more than cool, you know? And she got so mad that I criticized her, said that critique, right? She didn't talk to me for like a week or two until I apologized, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing here. There's one thing, Jennifer, that's your answer for everything? It looked more like she was doing an impression of this Fire Marshal Bill. Do you remember Fire Marshal Bill, Taylor?
Yes, Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey was on this show called, he got his start. Yeah. He had this start called In Living Color, okay? It was on Fox. It was a sketch show. And he had a character that was very famous at the time called Fire Marshal Bill. YouTube it. You'll find it. And it seemed more like she was doing Fire Marshal Bill with her mouth. Am I wrong?
No. When you say that totally. My husband posted a thing on Twitter saying that every time I saw Britta, I thought of It's Wario from Super Mario Brothers.
Okay.
Yeah, we're just kind of this big, huge mouth kind of coming at people. So
yeah, I don't know. And that with every joke. All right. Crystal Method as Poppy.
I guess she did it. I don't know. I mean, Jonathan Bennett said that he went and watched videos after Snatch Game and said that she got it down perfect, but there's no point of reference for Ru. Ru has no idea who that is. So
following Jonathan Bennett's advice, I have done this. I went to go look up Poppy's videos.
Mm-hmm.
He's right. She nailed the impression. Nailed it.
Yeah.
But the next step, how do you... it's a character, yeah, she nailed the impression, but how does that character live in a real world on Snatch Game? Does that make sense? And by the way, I'm not disagreeing that would be a difficult challenge. It is a challenge. That's probably why you wouldn't choose Poppy as a character, on Snatch Game. But,
it's kind of the same reason why you wouldn't choose Elle DeBarge like Ru wanted to be, where she's like, you should be. What is funny about Elle DeBarge? Elle DeBarge had like 4 or 5 songs.
Yeah.
That she might be able to, jam into a reference for an answer, but there isn't anything about Elle DeBarge that is memorable as far as a personality goes.
Also, it would be the worst advice ever. 1, what would Elle DeBarge do? 2, Crystal has made it very known she doesn't know who the fuck Elle DeBarge is.
Yeah.
And the way they're sequestered, there's no way for her to find out who Elle DeBarge is.
Right.
How would she do Elle DeBarge? Just come out in boy clothes? Be like, hi, I'm Elle DeBarge.
Come out in boy clothes and draw a little pencil mustache over her lip?
She wouldn't know to do that. She wouldn't know to do that because she can't look him up.
She wouldn't know to do that, and she would get read to filth by Michelle for coming out and pretty much in boy drag.
Yeah. It was awful advice. The RuPaul just wanted to see him as Elle DeBarge because she wanted it for her spank bank later. It was just some weird sick fantasy that she wanted to see. But I appreciate the effort, but again, just doing an impression perfectly isn't right. All right, Sherry Pie is Katharine Hepburn. Let's talk about that.
I mean, I thought that the thing with the handwriting was funny. Mm-hmm. And when she tried to answer the one question of what kind of tree, and it took her 30 seconds, and then she went oak. She is somebody who clearly is familiar with comedic timing, with she's been trained in this. So it makes sense that she did as well as she did, and she was in the top 3.
It was the strongest character of the night. It was the funniest character. I wouldn't know particularly funny, but funniest character of the night. The reason she didn't win, I'll tell you why 100%. Here goes. Raven went on What's the Tea. She was a guest on What's the Tea with RuPaul.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And she discussed on the show that if were she ever to have a chance to go back on the show and do Snatch Game, she would do a late stage Katharine Hepburn whose voice used to shake and her hands used to shake, and the cards would be scribble, and then she would just say whatever the right answer was.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I think that's why Sherry Pie didn't win. It was funny, and I don't think anyone's mad, and maybe she was doing an intentional homage to what Raven said, showing that she did her homework. But it's literally, you can find it on Reddit, but it's a quote from, someone quoted the actual episode, transcribed it.
Yeah.
Where Raven has said that's what she would do. So, and Raven is her makeup artist, so obviously it would make sense that Sherry Pie.
There was a discussion while she was applying her lip liner. Do you remember when I was on your show and this is what I said?
Yeah. So I think
something to think about when you're deciding who wins. So have a good show.
Yeah. So as funny as Sherry Pie was, it wasn't her original idea. The funny thing, and I could see it even being an homage, but if people don't recognize the homage, is it really an homage or is it stealing? Oh,
that's stealing. That sounds completely like stealing.
Because you would have to really know that show to remember that. Luckily, there are fans who really do know that show. And so
you're talking about like people that really this is their oxygen for them. So
yeah, Sherry Pie did a good job, but it's not a winner for me because it's not her idea. All right. It's time for Elimination Day. The queens return to the workroom to prepare for this week's runway. Jackie refuses Britta's excuses, saying they all knew Snatch Game was coming. Crystal and Aiden are nervous about their Snatch Game performances, but Aiden hopes her runway look can save her from the bottom. Widow reveals her history of abusive relationships and homelessness, which I want to get to that in a second, which led to her love for Tina Turner. Gigi comes out as gender fluid. much like Rue's love for Crystal about the Elder Barge. When Gigi said that she was gender fluid, Taylor, there were other fluids going on too, right? When she said that.
Okay.
And tells the story of her beloved gay uncle who helped them feel comfortable to be themselves. Okay. Well, we don't know how Gigi, what pronoun she uses. Okay. So, all right, moving on. So what were your thoughts here on this elimination day, Taylor?
I unfortunately, the story that Widow told is something that I hear a lot at work.
Oh, you do?
Of where people are, especially the older generation of clients that I work with who were thrown out of the house because it was in the 70s or the 80s. And they came out as gay, and that they would get themselves in whether either they were doing sex work at some point, or they were living on the streets, or they were just kind of, going from boyfriend to boyfriend because it was a warm place to sleep. And inevitably, once they got tired of dealing with my clients, and that's led to some very tough choices and hard lives that some of my clients have had to go through. I guess my problem with her analogy of, and I know Tina Turner went through a lot, so that's why I wanted to honor Tina Turner, and I wanted to do Tina Turner for Snatch Game, is if you truly feel like you want to honor and respect Tina Turner, why would you then decide to do Ike Turner? There's something about that speaks, that kind of spits in the face of what. So we're going to do we're going to be a character that has a well-known history of domestic abuse, and rose up to be somebody who she was always part of the Ike and Tina review, but then rose up to become Tina Turner and was an enormous star in the 80s, the most of from about 84 on, and then some in the 90s, but was just this beloved person, not only because she was super talented, but also because of all this. So to then decide halfway through Snatch Game, you were then going to start to play the portrayer and portray the abuser rather as someone who is aggressive and abusive. It doesn't match up. It's incongruent to me.
Look, it's so funny because you saw that as a mental health, which I completely agree with. It's a very interesting point I hadn't thought of. I was looking at it and like the way they segued into that was maybe one of the worst segues I have ever seen in the history of Mirror Moments. It was literally like, what did she ask? Like, oh, you love Tina Turner? Or like, why'd you do Tina? It was I think once again, Sherry Pie was playing the role of the producer and was like, ask her some question that had nothing to do with what she was eventually going to talk about. Like, it was like, hey, you ever see What's Love Got to Do with? No, I think that'd be even closer. It was like I had to find it, and I'm not going to go find it. But, and then she goes, yeah, because Tina was abused. And I was like, where did that come from? Like, it came out of left field. Like, she produced herself and just jammed it in because she wanted to get her screen time, or a producer somehow, I don't know. It felt so weird and so out of left field and forced in the conversation that it left me thinking about that the whole time. But that's a good point you make about how if you went through all this, why would you then portray the abuser in a way that when you were holding up for laughs, it wasn't in a way that we're laughing at because it was just like it. Yes, I understand what you're saying. You were
laughing. You were laughing at stuff from scenes that were, I mean, I've seen What's Love Got to Do with It, and some of those scenes are horrifying to watch, where they were just, I mean, there's a rape scene at one point, and just on top of just all of the emotional and physical abuse. Yeah. And to try to portray that as something that's funny, it doesn't connect for me. Moving on to Gigi, what Gigi said, I mean, I think people really like Gigi. I think this was the turning point where people really will love Gigi, because she's talking, she's speaking to two different parts of our population, of the LGBT population. She's talking to the young kids who get this a little bit more than I think our generation does, and the generation above us, as far as, you know, gender and fluidity and that kind of thing. And she's also talking to the older generation and talking about the importance of mentors and the importance of realizing that there are older, you know, relatives or friends of family or whatever you want to call it, that played a role in our lives to let us know that it's okay. Those of us that are fortunate enough to have that. I mean, you know, while I'm not, to the best of my knowledge, I don't have an LGBT, my niece and my nephew and my little sister, who are all teenagers, they all identify as heterosexual, to the best of my knowledge. You know, they all have gotten to see me as a proud gay man who is living my life with my Wonder Woman, my Disney stuff, and they all just think it's kind of great. And it's something where they, not you, I just saw that cock of an eyebrow, that it speaks to the importance of gay elders, for lack of a better word, and that it's important that we keep those connections going to keep, you know, intergenerational stuff happening. So I liked it, not for the reasons you did, you pervert, but I liked it for just kind of showing the importance of that. That, again, that is something that has never really been talked about as far as people having other LGBT, you know, we had talked about Dahlia having the twin brother, but otherwise the idea of
Dahlia twin
talking about, you know, gay mentors, gay relatives, gay, you know, that kind of thing.
All right, very good. Well, Taylor, it's time for your favorite part of the show. It's time that we talk about
the looks.
The looks. All right, this week it was Frozen Extravaganza. Taylor, your thought? I don't have the order right in front of me. Do you have it? Tell me about your thoughts on the looks.
I love the idea of the looks. I liked that they added the really cheap set the iced trees to add to it. I find it interesting that they were focusing on the play Frozen and not the movie, for even though they used Let It Go, which I know but it seemed like they were
both are owned by Disney.
They were trying really, really hard to not say Disney or to say the film, and they don't even necessarily say Frozen, they say Frozen Eleganza. And I also find it interesting that nobody came, and I'm sure they were directed to do this, nobody came in an Elsa outfit.
Yeah.
Of the queens that were there, nobody came in just a full-on, because I remember when that movie came out, turning to my co-host on Pod as my co-pilot and saying, after we watched Let It Go, I remember saying, you know, how many queens are running to Joann's Fabrics right now to get blue sequined fabric to make these Elsa dresses.
Oh, well, there is
no one came out of that.
Vivian Panay is known as a wig maker. I believe it's Vivian Panay, and there's all this drama surrounding it, and I'm not going to get into it, right? But I think one of her big wigs that she sells is an Elsa wig.
Yeah. If this had been done last season, you can guarantee Nina would have come out as Elsa.
Yeah.
So, but I liked the look. I liked the fact that everybody did a lot of, you know, whites and blues, you know, pale whites and blues. So I thought the looks were pretty good. Are we going to have a video of that, or
no? I forgot to pull it.
Okay. I could say my favorite look of all of them, because again, it was a variation on what was to be expected, was Gigi's as the ice cream woman, with the good nature. Is that what it's? What was the old ice cream?
Good humor.
Good humor is like kind of the good humor, the sexy good humor girl, even with the little pink on the nose holding the big ice. I thought that was very clever, and I thought that she looked great in it. I liked Britta's look. I thought Britta's look, because it was beautiful, just the design and the shape of it. But I also liked that it wasn't just all blue and white. As much as I like that blue and white aesthetic, the fact that you had all of these different crystals that were all different colors of the hot pink and the orange and everything, I thought was really good. My fear was at first, and it wasn't until she described it, that we've seen in previous runways where the lighting is off and it gives everything weird colored hues. I thought that was just the reflection of the lights, but then you saw that was actually the colors of the dress. versus just the lighting. So I liked that. A third look that I liked, trying to go through in my head, I can't think of a third look of anybody that we normally talk about on the show.
Oh, well, yeah. You know what's so funny? You're talking about Sherry Pie. I guess they didn't even show Sherry Pie's look.
They didn't even show her walking down the runway. You sort of forgot about her until they said coming up after the break, and you saw her standing on the end. We're like, holy shit, they didn't show her.
Yeah, because her designer went on Twitter pissed the show that they didn't show her runway look. And it's like, fuck this show, blah, 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 blah. Look. Sherry Pie did something awful. Okay? And there are a lot of victims as collateral. Okay?
Yeah.
Like, one of the victims being World of Wonder. One of the victims being the other contestants. One of the victims being the people she actually victimized, you know? A lot of people got damaged in this collateral. Unfortunately, designer, I think he designed almost all her outfits, if not all of them. You're one of the people who are damaging collateral. You can't be mad at VH1 for... She hurt a lot of people, and so you have to think, maybe watching her walk down the runway is painful to the people she victimized. It's not all about you, you fucking designer. Like, I'm sorry that happened to you, but a lot of people got victimized here. A lot of people, if you think you're losing money or whatnot, like guy, I don't care how fierce your outfit is. If Hitler's walking on the runway wearing your outfit, don't be like, I want to wear that outfit. I don't care about Hitler. So you should be happy that they hid the outfit. Yeah. The drag queen, look, the drag queens who will hire you know that you did fierce work. That's what's important.
Right. And I think that, you know, I am friends with one of my nieces is friends with, I can't remember his last name, but it's Casey something, who has done a lot of the looks for, I know he did Trinity the Tuck's lime green, where it was like the zip tie outfit. Yeah. He did Sasha Velour's reunion look. Very, very talented, and I follow him on Instagram. And a lot of times he will take pictures of the outfits that aren't on the queen, they're on another model, and show that. Sometimes he'll wear them and show pictures of it. So there's no reason that you can't say to people, you know, hey, this was my outfit, and not even necessarily use a picture of Sherry Pie, but just use a picture of, you know, another model wearing it, and then people still get to see your look. Will it have the broad audience that Drag Race had? No, but at least then those who know will know.
Yeah, and also, like I said, the hope is that other drag queens or people who buy those outfits will... Yes, Taylor?
No, I just thought of somebody else I like, but go ahead. Please finish your thought.
The other people who will hire you and give you money to do the looks. Trust me, every drag queen pays attention to that, follows the people that you need to be followed, will know you do good work, regardless of the Sherry Pie stuff. They will hire you. You will be found. What were you going to say?
Yeah. Crystal and the Mr. Freeze inspired from Bad. I got the reference right away when she came out, so I was glad that she said, and I'm inspired by Mr. Freeze. But I thought it was a very well-tailored and beautiful look. And again, she's showing us something different. I mean, she's still sort of... It feels like in the beginning, my complaint with her was that she's covering her face, so we don't really see who she is. And maybe as I've gotten to know her over the... I can make out who it is now. But it also feels like she's modifying her makeup in such a way that I can see Crystal in there, where I couldn't see it in the beginning. And I thought everything about this, other than the wig, to quote a former co-host of the show, was a little thirsty. But I thought that the look and everything, particularly the pants and the blouse on top, everything was absolutely great. So I was glad to see that. As far as the least favorite looks go, Aiden looked sloppy. And plus the weird thing where the contacts were slowly sliding around to where then eventually they were these weird slits. And the fact, again, they did Aiden wrong with the whole close-up of the eyes to show that. Because at one point I said to Pablo, I'm like, did her contacts move or something? And then the last thing they show is that close-up.
Well, when she's saying something too, that's when she says something. And you're like, oh, that's shady. That is shady. She's saying something that corresponds with it. Yeah. Any other thoughts?
That was probably my least favorite look.
Any other thoughts on the looks?
Widow looked like Frosty the Snowman dropped a load on her face. The whole thing with the things hanging off her face was not... It didn't quite get the look that I was expecting. Jan's, I liked the concept of it, and I think... You know, you have to work with what you work with as far as silicone. But everything was jiggling a little too much to really give it that feeling of being frozen. But I did like her makeup, and I like that she does occasionally get a little bit more conceptual. I know that she did the ball look where she the blue face last time. I like that we're seeing things about her, but it was just sort of okay. Right. What about, did you have anybody that you really liked or really didn't like?
No. I don't remember. I was looking at the looks. I have a horrible memory for it. That's something that, like, I look at it and I go, oh, that's cute. That's nice. I will say for the most part, I think I liked everybody's except for Aiden's. I thought it looked for the most part pretty good. I don't know. I don't remember. Could everything have to rely on my thinking about the looks? I don't like talking about the looks.
Okay, let me ask you this. What did you think, things were staying in this section, what did you think of the guest judges? I'm curious your thoughts, particularly on Jonathan Bennett.
So I looked him up on IMDb to see what he's done since. And I saw that he's the host. Is it Cake Wars?
Cupcake Wars, and I think there's another one that he's...
Oh, okay. He's a host of these...
There's a bunch of them there's a bunch of them that all take place on the same set.
Yeah.
And I know I've watched, when I was sick a couple of years ago, I would sit and watch Cupcake War episodes on my iPad. So he was the host.
I thought Cupcake War was hosted by that Justin...
the magician?
Yeah, his magician name used to be Just Incredible, which is awful. But I can't remember what his real name is. Justin something or other, right?
They've vacillated. Some seasons are Jonathan Bennett and some are the magician.
Okay. He seemed very host of one of those shows. It seemed he seemed very, like, studied and, like, I'm a host of a show. Hi. You know? Yeah. I think he's transitioned to that rather than actor. And it seemed very, like, almost Ryan Seacresty. So there was something that rang false about him.
Okay, yeah. Because I find him to be super cute, even though he is super, like, his eyebrows are tweezed within an inch of the life.
Yeah.
But he seemed to be having fun with the, clapping and watching everything that was going on. And I find him cute. And the Daniel, how do you say his last name? Francesi. He was fun. He was a good host. I was expecting him to be more. But.
Yeah, so was I. He clearly was a fan of the show and knew what he was talking about. But they were fine. They were serviceable. Everything was serviceable in this episode. All right. Well, those are the looks.
The looks.
All right, back on the main stage, Heidi, Jada, Jan, and Widow are named safe and excused from the stage. The top three of the week are Sherry Pie, Gigi Good, and Jackie Cox. Gigi is named the winner of the Snatch game, leaving Crystal Method, Britta, and Aiden Zane in the bottom. After the judges save Crystal Method from the bottom, Aiden Zane and Britta are left to go head-to-head in a lip-sync battle for their lives. The song, the Broadway rendition of Let It Go from the musical based on the Disney film Frozen. After pulling out some pyrotechnics, Britta managed to outperform her competitor and sent Aiden Zane packing. Taylor the Latte Boy, any final thoughts on the episode?
Well, I think Britta won because she's able to move that mouth. That's a song that involves you, like, kind of having, like, a huge mouth. Whereas Aiden, there's point Aiden, like, kind of barely knew the words to it. Whereas, where Britta is sort of doing just that big kind of like the Jennifer Holliday, the ha 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 sort of thing, where she was doing that with it. And that was sort of the focus of it. I didn't quite get the pyrotechnics, I don't know how she did it, where they came from, whatever. But it was an okay. I think the snow helped. The fact that it started snowing and on the stage was helpful to that. But I mean, it was serviceable. But once again, she did the thing of where she stood in front of her competitor, and I have a huge problem with that. I just think that's not very sportsmanlike. I get that you're fighting for your spot, but it should be where the focus is on you, not taking focus away from the other person. Now, that being said, Aiden kind of fell behind. So I don't necessarily completely fault Britta for that, but I know that when she lip synced in the past, that was an issue.
Look, it was Aiden's time to go. And everybody knows.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree with that 100%.
Yeah. Everybody knows, the producers, RuPaul, everybody knows that her time to go was 2 episodes ago. 3 episodes ago. Somebody argue 4 episodes ago. Okay. And it's taken this long to get her in the right spot where she was worthy of being in the bottom 2, where she could be placed in the bottom 2, and they needed someone to send her home. Obviously, for story reasons, the best person to put up against her was Britta. Okay.
Do you think that was storyline reasons? That makes sense. Do you think that Crystal should have lip synced against her? I think no, but I'm interested in your reason.
I would say no, because I think the Crystal's look saved her.
I think Crystal's look saved her, and I also think that when they went back and realized they didn't know who Poppy was, but when they went back and watched the videos and realized that she did a great Poppy, that's what saved her.
Yeah. Maybe, perhaps. Good point. So, and also, look, just for the storyline, too. They want to see Britta, who they may find her, send her home. That's sad. If you look at Britta's lip sync by itself, it borders on cringy, if not actually full-blown cringe.
Yeah.
Like the way, Laura, on the first response, Lori and I sang, we lip synced to Frozen the same way that Britta lip synced to Frozen. Okay, it was like the way over pronouncing the words. Like, okay, bitch, we get that you know the words. Like, it was very, very odd to look at, uncomfortable. There was nothing spectacular about it. You're right. The snow and the pyrotechnics helped save her. Not save her. She would have won anyway, because Aiden at one point just gave up. Just straight up was like, just send me home.
Straight up, just barely moving his mouth.
Was one level above Charlie Hyde, just standing there. Was just by 1%,
Yes.
So it didn't take much to send Aiden home.
Jesus.
Shut up, I'm talking. That was a reference to Charlie Hyde. I wasn't really saying shut up, I'm talking. Do you remember when he told Eureka that? Remember that?
Could you shut up for a minute?
Yeah, could you shut up for a minute?
I think that's could you just shut up for a minute?
So,
I want an episode where at one point you go, shut up, I'm talking.
Yeah. So, Charlie Hyde was one level above that. But if anybody competent would have got up against Britta, she would have gone home. I will say, though, that's a hard lip sync to do. That's a hard song to do a traditional drag style lip sync too. It doesn't have any kind of real like beat or like rhythm to dance or anything like that. It's a performance song. But it was cuckoo. No, not cuckoo. It was cringy, bringy, and So it's time. It's time for this Britta to go too. Now that Aiden's. In other words, honestly, Britta is dumb. She should have been wanting Aiden to stick around, because then the spotlight wouldn't go on her. Bitch, you have been in the bottom for 2 or 3 weeks in a row. You need to get this bitch. She's like your human shield. Because then now the Eye of Sauron is going to be on Britta.
Yeah, no, Babalu said that. He said, hasn't she lip synced like 3 times? I said, I don't think 3, but definitely this is her second one. So she goes by the general rules, and she hasn't necessarily done anything to, if it sounds like, to really impress Rue this season.
Yeah.
I feel like if Heidi lip synced more than twice on a third time, she might get a save, whereas Britta is just kind of coasting along. Britta has to lip sync again. There's a good chance Britta's going home.
Yes. You're right. No. If Britta lip syncs again, I think she's going home. Unless, look, there were people like Coco Montrese and there's a couple other people who Cameron Michaels, who were such good lip syncers that you're like, ooh, maybe not, right? And it's true, they did. I think Coco lip synced like 4 times. I think same thing with Cameron. Yeah. Cameron did like
Cameron
4 or 5.
and they both lip synced 4 times.
I think when you include the lip syncs, Cameron has the most lip syncs.
Yeah, because
when you include the finale. When you include the finale. But yeah. So if she goes up again, she's not a good lip syncer. If the person even halfway, unless the person, falls off the stage holding a Nazi flag, I think Britta's going home. One thing I wanted to bring up, and this is going to be, because it's funny that Carson brought up something very interesting. Oh, he actually made a very interesting Britta comparison, and then they glossed over a gay herstory moment I think is really important. Another comparable person to Britta is Waylon Flowers and Madam, and the Madam puppet did a mouth very similar to Britta. And they didn't know who Waylon Flowers and Madam were, even though they were the same person. But What's funny is I highly recommend. It is so funny how Waylon. Before recently, up until like 5 or 6 years ago, I only had the vaguest memories of Waylon Flowers and Madam. But that should have been another sign that I was a little gay kid, because when I would be little and my parents were watching Hollywood Squares, I just always remember liking Waylon Flowers, not thinking gay or anything. I just really liked them. I thought they were funny, you know?
Yeah.
And so Waylon Flowers was, I would consider him more a comedian than a ventriloquist or puppeteer, or maybe a puppeteer, because if you ever watch, you can find them old Waylon Flowers and Madam videos. He actually uses the puppet theory that I have, which is, don't do ventriloquism. Just move your mouth, right?
Yeah.
And then everybody will look where you want to look and no one's going to care. So Waylon Flowers would openly move his mouth. He didn't do ventriloquism, but you were looking at Madam anyway, so you didn't care. Like everybody knows Waylon Flowers is talking, you know?
Yeah.
So, and Madam was just that I think she was based on like a /B Arthur / I think it's B Arthur, and if you Wikipedia, you find out who he based it on. But it's like B Arthur and somebody like this old fucking bitch lady, right? And you can find videos where like someone's doing Madam right now, and I've seriously considered reaching out and somehow getting that person's old too. But like, I would love to bring back Joe Betance and Madam. I love it. When you watch it, it's definitely comedy from its time. But it's very gay comedy from its time. I think
it's very gay comedy. It's very, the humor is in, old people wanting to be sexual.
Yeah.
And
it's like Golden Girls.
Yeah, it was pretty much a precursor to the Golden Girls, but on very 70s variety shows. And like you said, Hollywood Squares. Madam had Madam's Place, where she had a sitcom for a while that was horrible, that I think like one of the Lander sisters was on. And they never showed Wayland. It was always where she was always like laying in bed, but it was all these like mink blankets around her and stuff. And and
Waylon Flowers died. Waylon Flowers died of AIDS. And
okay. Wow. Okay.
And he was abused by Ike Turner. Strangely, I don't know why Ike Turner abused him too. So after Tina, he was abusing poor Waylon Flowers.
He had to into a rebound relationship with Waylon Flowers. I hope this is still funny when we're burning in hell. But that's okay.
Well, they'll be there anyway. So Waylon Flowers was Madam is like, if you look at it, like the one you can find on YouTube is interesting. He did Waylon Flowers and Madam did an HBO special, so it's much dirtier. Okay. You can see what Madam's nightclub act was like, and it's much dirtier. And I think the world is ready for Madam to come back, and I think you have to have a funny comedian. So maybe I shouldn't do it. Bring her back. I think gay America is ready for Madam to come back. I think they're dying for Madam to come back, and would love to do that.
And honestly, a great platform to reintroduce Madam would be Drag Race as a guest judge.
You're right. That would be really great. You're right. But I think the person who I think somebody has the Madam puppet. I don't know if there are actual rights to Madam, but someone like new Waylon Flowers, and he has to put like. I don't know. He's doing it somewhere like in Branson or something. Who knows if it's funny or not? Probably using the same old jokes. Talking about like the oil crisis and Jimmy Carter or something. Or Knots Landing, or like weird 80s references that Madam would make. Okay, Taylor, any other thoughts on this episode?
No, we talked a lot longer than I expected to, because it was sort of like it's a high level of quality, but I'm kind of expecting it to be a high level of quality. Whereas I feel like other seasons, it's sort of like, well, let me just drudge through this. Yeah. I'm not getting that from this, but I'm also not. I'm entertained, and I feel like I should be wowed, but I'm not wowed.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Makes total sense.
Just because you kind of expect them all to be really good, because they are. Everybody, to varying degrees, is a really, really strong queen.
Yes, you're right. Except for Britta. All right. Well, she is the queen of New York. I was entertainer of the year. Why were they up here singing Frozen? That's ridiculous. Yeah. All right.
You know what I said to let it go? Let him go into the river with cement shoes.
Yeah. Talking about Waylon Flowers and Madam, I would literally fuck her. I don't even. I had no joke.
Flowers.
I just wanted to bring back Waylon Flowers and Madam.
I'd be sending flowers, black flowers, to Aiden's house to show her as a warning. Don't show up wearing that stupid snowman outfit again.
Yeah. I was going to make a joke about AIDS and her name is Aiden, but I didn't do it.
Yeah, we shouldn't do that. That would be inappropriate.
But imagine a joke and it's so fucking funny, but it's so inappropriate. Liberace and Rock Hudson are laughing right now. Anyway, they know.
In hell.
In hell. With Waylon Flowers, Rock Hudson, and Liberace are laughing their asses off. Yeah, you know why they're laughing their asses off? Because they got fucked so hard and they felt so good. I don't know why I'm making these offensive jokes about dead people. What is wrong with me?
They're looking up right now and laughing at all of these jokes.
That's right. They sure are. Entertainer of the Year, New York City. All right, that's going to do it for this week's episode of RuPaul's Drag Race Recap. This episode was produced by Luke Stamen. Be sure to join us next week and every week as we continue to discuss, dissect, and deconstruct each brand new episode of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 12. So, for Taylor the Latte Boy and myself,
sashay away until next week.
thank you for listening to RuPaul's Drag Race Recap. Have something to say? Email us at dragracerecap@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Drag Race Recap. If you want access to more Season 12 content, support us on Patreon at patreon.com/afterthoughtmedia. You can follow Taylor the Latte Boy on Twitter and Instagram at PIMCTaylor. Follow Joe Betance on Twitter and Instagram at Joe Betance. That's JoeBetance. The theme song was written by Lucian Piani and arranged and performed by Alex Lefebvre. This episode was produced by Luke Stamen. Drag Race Recap is an Afterthought Media podcast.